Thank you, Alyssa, for the kind introduction. My name is Hermione, and I'm doing a master's degree in mechanical engineering here at the University of Michigan. And today I'm going to be talking about my experience working for the Idaho National Lab, which I will be later on referring to as INL. So, a little bit introduction about my career paths and what I've done before. I've worked with a lot of traditional engineering companies, and I've also been involved in a lot of traditional, say, mechanical engineering research projects here in the university. And the reason why I'm using the word traditional is because the project that I'm going to be sharing with you all today will not be a traditional engineering project. We call it a non-traditional engineering research. So before I actually start, can we have a show of hands of does anyone actually have heard of INL before and know what they do in terms of their research? No. Oh, we have one. Can you share what you know about what they do? Yeah, that's correct, but very general. But that's okay. That's why I'm here, and that's why I'm speaking to you all today. So INL's mission and its vision is to create more innovative solutions for nuclear technology. And their vision is to accelerate the world's path to a cleaner and more sustainable future in terms of its energy infrastructure. There are three main research areas going on at INL. The first is what they're mostly famous for, which is nuclear science and technology. This is where they have a lot of advanced nuclear reactors, and they build nuclear power plants. They have a lot of nuclear engineers, mechanical engineers, chemists, and industrial engineers working for this sector of their research. The second research area is energy and environment. So INL not only does nuclear engineering research, they also focus on other renewables such as wind, solar, hydro, and they also do battery testing for electric vehicles. They also focus on biofuels. The third one might surprise you, which is national and homeland security. This is where they are trying to secure our internet security, and they do a lot of cybersecurity research. All right, so a little bit about the background of my research. Let me ask you one simple question. You don't have to answer it. You can just think about it in your head. What is the first word that comes to your mind when you think of nuclear energy? We actually asked the same exact question to thousands of residents in the state of Idaho, and here's the result that we got. The bigger the word cloud is, the more responses of that single word we get. So you can see from this graph that even to this date, a lot of people actually still associate nuclear energy as a dangerous and scary kind of technology, which is not true at all, and I'm going to be telling you why and how. So nuclear energy is actually considered a very safe technology nowadays. It is actually the most efficient clean energy resource that we have in the United States and even in the whole world. It actually produces zero emission, which means that the byproducts of nuclear energy is only water, and it does not have any CO2 emission or any other harmful greenhouse gases. Nuclear, as I said before, nuclear is actually the most efficient energy source that we have today. If we only have 5 single nuclear power plants, we can produce the same amount of electricity as 16 combined cycle power plants, or over 7,000 wind turbines, or about 4 million solar panels. And the efficiency in terms of the energy in versus energy out, nuclear is actually a whopping over 90%, which is very significant comparing to other sources of energy. For example, the traditional coal power plants have only about 60 or 50%, and solar panels only have about 20%. And in terms of the power and electricity generation in the US as of 2017, in the clean energy sector, you can see from the pie chart, nuclear energy actually dominates for about around 74%. So a lot of the information that I just talked about might surprise you, or it might not. That's okay. So this is the reason why I'm here today, because a lot of people nowadays still as you saw before, still associate nuclear energy as a negative thing. And INL has long realized the importance of deploying nuclear energy in our world's path to a more sustainable future and to our fight against climate change and global warming. So the objectives of my project in partnership with INL is to investigate the general public's perception of INL as an organization, as well as the general public's perception of nuclear energy itself. And ultimately, we want to help INL to develop a strategic plan to change and improve the public perception of nuclear energy. So you might ask if this issue has been long existing and why haven't anyone else in the world think of doing this kind of research project? And the answer is yes, they have in the past multiple times actually and through decades, but none of the attempts actually succeeded. And the evidence of their failure is actually very obvious from the poll that we saw a couple slides ago. You can see that people still don't understand nuclear energy and they still think of it as a negative technology. And if you ask if I'm doing this here today and why am I going to succeed? And my answer is I don't know, because our team is actually the first ever in the world to actually going to implement this brand new method to assess this need and to address this issue. And this methodology that we're implementing in our research project is called the socially engaged design. So a lot of engineers and technology designers nowadays are not equipped with the proper skills in order for them to develop a sustainable and more user-friendly product. And this is where our methodology, socially engaged design, comes in. Socially engaged design actually incorporates the social, cultural, environmental, and economic impacts, and in which so these impacts will ultimately help the designers to produce a more innovative and more successful long-term solution in the end. And this method is very systematic and scientifically proven to be helping engineers and designers to produce better solutions at the end. So in order to implement this method, we go through iterative design cycles, and there are 5 steps in this cycles that I will be talking about today. The first one is to analyze the context of the design. This actually means that we have to do a lot of background research before we go into the field. So prior to me going to Idaho, I spent 4 months actually just researching about the social norms, the economics, and as well as the political composition in the state of Idaho, as well as the other Intermountain West states. So this kind of background research actually helped me a lot later on when I actually went into the field and interacted with the users. The second step is to partner with and immerse in communities. There are a lot of methods that goes into this step, and a few of them include field observations, user interviews, prototype testing, and user testing, etc. And the one that I'm using the most in my project is user interviewing. So I actually went to Idaho and I partnered with INL to interview a lot of local residents, active community members. I also interacted with politicians, researchers at INL, as well as other scientists. So this is where, so my interview and my conversations with these people actually benefited a lot from the field research that I did from the previous step, because I was able to tailor my questions to different user groups. The next step after the interviewing is identifying opportunities. We also call it need assessment. So from all the raw data that we get from the interviews that we did, so we actually look for recurring topics and repeating talk points that are in these conversations. And we pull these points out and we construct what we call need statements. So for example, this is only an example. A lot of people actually talk about they're concerned about the safety precautions and how they think nuclear energy isn't as safe as what it claims to be. So a lot of people talk about this. So one need statement that can be withdrawn from these evidence is there is a need for INL to address the safety precaution of the operation of nuclear power plants. So that's just one example. Next, we have gathered over 50 need statements, and we were able to prioritize them. And from that, we are able to generate solutions. So there are actually a lot of scientifically proven systematic ways of brainstorming solutions, and some of them including brainstorm, mind mapping, scamper, and morphological chart. And I can talk about it more if you have questions at the end, but I don't have a lot of time to go into details for each one of them. So for my project, it is a still ongoing project. We are still on this phase. Right now, we are still generating solutions. The next step, which is the final step, is to design sustainable solutions. So from the previous step, we have a lot of innovative ideas generated from our brainstorming sessions. And then we want to use these ideas and to make them into sustainable solutions by doing a lot of field testing and user testing. Because ultimately, we want our technology to be user-friendly, and we want to consider the human aspects of our products and technology. Because what's the point of having a great product or a great technology if the society or the people nowadays don't even accept it and they don't even want to use it in their daily lives? So in conclusion, so from what I learned from my experience at NNL is that socially engaged design is actually really crucial in all sorts of design aspects, not only in engineering. And what I want you to learn today from my speech is that, one, INL is doing its best at advancing our nuclear technology in the United States, and also that socially engaged design is a very important aspect, but many people still don't know about it. And if you have any question about any of the aspects that I talked about today, whether nuclear energy related, whether other things going on at NNL, or if you can connect your kids with the research outreach program at INL, I'll be happy to talk to you about it. Also, anything else with socially engaged design, we have a department for socially engaged design here at Michigan, and I can share the contact with you. And here are some links for you. You can take a picture of this and explore it if you want. So thank you so much today for joining me. I'll be at lunch today if you have any questions.